The serpent threatens different charges during different seasons, and the warrior's very aspect will change according to the times. If, for example, his lady is being threatened, the warrior will seem as if he is looking to his left, eyes blazing towards that part of the sky wherein she resides. Thus, to find the serpent during the warrior's season, look to where he looks, for that is where the coiled beast is active. If the sun and the stars act as gateways from Ethereus to the mortal realm, and magic flows through these glistering rifts in the sky, then it stands to reason that astronomy, and by extension astrology, are fundamental sciences to the mortals of Mundus. Were someone born in our universe to search for meaning in the constellations of the night sky, they would be labelled a superstitious kook, a mystic, or a charlatan. In the universe of the Elder Scrolls, however, much utility can be found in the pursuit of stargazing. One could almost certainly lose their grasp on sanity by delving too deep into astronomy, as all of life's questions can be answered by studying the cosmos. Fortunately, sanity has never been a trait of much import to us here at Fudge Muppet, and to anyone who tries to comprehend the full extent of Elder Scrolls lore. Hermaeus Mora and his realm of Apocrypha are the perfect metaphor for Elder Scrolls lore. There is enough knowledge to fill an entire realm, with seas of ink and islands constructed from leather-bound tomes and loose parchment. Yet even when you grasp the forbidden knowledge in your hands, you'll either get lost in the paper labyrinth, or wind up being eaten alive by a tentacled beast, or simply vanish, enveloped in the folds of the infernal darkness. It's been over 7 years since a new installment to the Elder Scrolls series, yet we've barely scratched the surface of the lore topics to cover on the channel. Perhaps Mora lets us live so long as we keep making new content. Do you think Apocrypha has an island built from hard drives full of lore videos? Or is he a bit too old-fashioned for that? Anyway, I digress. You've been warned. Hey guys, it's Drew here and welcome back to Fudge Muppet. The astronomy of the Elder Scrolls universe is not like the astronomy of our world, and it is one of the most complex aspects of the lore. But in this series, we'll learn all there is to know about what lies beyond Tamriel and beyond Nirn, starting with the stars. In the 201st year of the 4th era, when journeying across Skyrim, you may wonder why scholars aren't devoting more time to cosmology. It's well known that all magic comes from the sun and stars, so why not devote more brainpower to it? Well, much of the groundbreaking, or should I say skybreaking research into astronomy was actually carried out by an extinct race, and that race was the Dwemer. The Dwemer built orreries and observatories to gaze into the cosmos. Their cartographers drew star maps complete with constellation glyphs, and they even built magnificent elaborate structures called ocularies, which used focusing crystals and suspended lenses to display multi-dimensional charts of the cosmos among other things. Some say these machines could even guide to powerful magical artifacts. Their telescopes, powered by rune buttons, would point to individual constellations. Short of venturing into old Dwemer ruins, the closest most mortals come to learning about astronomy is through their birth sign, or by stumbling upon one of the standing stones scattered throughout the wilderness in Tamriel's northernmost province. There are 13 birth signs and 13 standing stones. Each sign and stone corresponds to one of the constellations found in the night sky. To put it in a real-world perspective, my birth sign would be Gemini, and as of writing this, my horoscope says that I may need to lie back, close my eyes, and listen to some soothing music. Apparently I work hard most of the time, so it can do my body and mind good to just relax and listen to my favourite music. But don't worry, I'm not going to end the video here and heed the word of my horoscope, because I already have the Cliff Racer song playing on repeat whenever I'm writing videos.
Flying, flying in the sky, Cliff Racer fly so high, flying.
The other key distinction which I mentioned before is that the stars in the Elder Scrolls are not flaming balls of gas. They are actually rifts to Ethereus, which leak magical light like a giant colander over Mundus. According to the book Cosmology, the stars are the bridges to Ethereus, the magic plane. They are perceived as holes on the inside surface of space. Because they are on the inside of a sphere, all stars are equidistant from Nirn. Larger stars therefore are not closer to the mortal plane, they are just larger tears in Oblivion. The largest tear in Oblivion is Magnus, the sun. And so it makes sense that because the stars have arcane power, so too do the constellations. For that reason, birth signs and standing stones actually do matter and have important impacts on the mortals born under them. The same source says the following about constellations. Constellations are collections of stars. Since each star is a bridge to magic, constellations are very powerful phenomena and are revered. There are generally accepted to be 13 constellations. 9 of these are made up completely of stars. 3 others are called guardian constellations, as they are each governed by a dominion planet. The dominion planets are Akatosh, the Eye of the Warrior, Julianos, the Eye of the Sage, and Arche, the Eye of the Thief. The last constellation is made up of unstars, and is called the Snake. So with all of this in mind, it's no surprise that each constellation's season has an effect on a child when it is born, and it does in fact impact their natural abilities and predispositions. The book titled The Firmament tells us how to distinguish which season it is. When the sun rises near one of the constellations, it is that constellation's season. Each constellation has a season of approximately 1 month. The serpent has no season, for it moves about in the heavens, usually threatening one of the other constellations. So, when a new child is born in your clan or your household, you need only look to the horizon while the sun is rising. The constellation closest to the sun is your child's birth sign. It is worth noting that, traditionally, one's birth sign is not something a mortal can control. After all, one cannot decide when they are born. However, the heroes of Skyrim found ancient menhir stones, which allowed worthy mortals to change their fate. These standing stones are scattered around the northernmost province, and by pledging yourself to a stone, you can alter the innate powers and abilities previously thought to be determined by birth and birth alone. But what effect will each of the 13 signs have on newborns? And what are the 13 signs? The first thing to note is that while 12 of the constellations represent a month of the year, 3 of them are called guardians while 9 are charges. The 3 guardian signs protect 3 charges each, and they are significant because their constellations each include a planet. Under the mage you'll find the apprentice, the atronach, and the ritual signs. Under the warrior, there's the lady, the steed, and the lord. And finally, protected by the thief, there's the lover, the shadow, and the tower. With the exception of the serpent, which we will talk about last, you can generally confirm which of the constellations is closest to the sun simply by knowing what month it is. The first month of the year, Morningstar, is the month of the ritual constellation. The firmament says, "The ritual is one of the mage's charges and its season is Morningstar. Those born under this sign have a variety of abilities depending on the aspects of the moons and of the divines." By that description, the ritual constellation is one of the more ambiguous ones. Generally, those born under the ritual have an affinity for restoration and an innate gift for turning the undead. When Morningstar gives way to sun's dawn, we will find the lover constellation greeting the rising sun. Those born under the sign of the lover are graceful and passionate, says the firmament. As one of the thief's vassals, the lover grants agility to her children, and in many cases, mortals born under the lover are skilled in the use of paralysis-based spells and abilities. As the trees and flowers blossom, so too does the month of first seed. The spring sunshine reveals that the Lord constellation is the new birth sign. The Lord's season is first seed, and he oversees all of Tamriel during the planting. Those born under the sign of the Lord are stronger and healthier than those born under other signs. And while this does ring true, with those born under the Lord sign wielding the power to regenerate health faster, the sign of the Lord has also been associated with increased weakness to fire. Next comes Rain's Hand, and the mage holds dominion over the spring showers. According to the firmament, Rain's Hand is significant as it was the first month in which magicka was used by men. The mage constellation also includes the planet Julianos, also called the Eye of the Sage. Those born under the mage have more magicka and talent for all kinds of spellcasting, but are often arrogant and absent-minded. Children of Rain's Hand tend to have the ability to control the highest amount of magicka. Second seed is the month of the mysterious Shadow constellation, and to put it simply, the Shadow grants those born under the sign the ability to hide in the shadows. It is said that those born under the Shadow can turn themselves invisible, though only once per day. Mid-year heralds the beginning of what we would call the summer season, and along with the sun's fortified warmth, the steed greets us on the horizon. Those born under the sign of the steed are impatient and always hurrying from one place to another. This description may lack the positivity of many other constellations, but don't fret, for if you were born in mid-year, you may just find yourself naturally faster than those around you. You have an advantage when fleeing, when hunting, and simply when travelling. In the month of Sun's Height, when the snows of Skyrim begin to melt away, the sign of the Apprentice dominates the sky. Those born under the sign of the Apprentice have a special affinity for magic of all kinds, but are more vulnerable to magic as well. The double-edged sword is one often wielded by the Apprentice, but with great risk comes great reward. Make the most of your harvest now before the month of Last Seed draws to a close, and the warrior sign retreats from the night sky. The warrior is the first guardian constellation, and he protects his charges during their seasons. The warrior's own season is Last Seed, when his strength is needed for the harvest. His charges are the lady, the steed, and the lord. Those born under the sign of the warrior are skilled with weapons of all kinds, but prone to short tempers. This constellation contains the planet Akatosh, which is also called the Eye of the Warrior. Sons of the warrior are not only strong, but they are born with exceptional endurance as well. When the harvest ends, Heartfire begins, and the lady emerges in the sky. The warrior may have stepped aside, but he will always be present, keeping a watchful eye on the lady, vigilant should the serpent emerge from the darkness. Those born under the sign of the lady are kind and tolerant. These virtuous children of Heartfire are known for their endurance, and also for their endearing personalities. Frostfall is the month of the Tower sign. Those born under the sign of the Tower have a knack for finding gold and can open locks of all kinds. The Tower breeds an astute flock, and these individuals make for great strategists. Next comes Sun's Dusk and the Atronach, warning of the encroaching cold. Also called the Golem, the Atronach sign is one of the mage's charges. Those born under this sign are natural sorcerers with deep reserves of magicka, but they cannot generate magicka of their own. Legends tell that a great many of the heroes featured in Fudge Muppet build videos were born under this constellation, and are naturally able to absorb incoming magicka. Then comes the final month of the year, Evening Star, and with it comes the Thief, the final guardian constellation. This constellation contains the planet Archay, which is also called the Eye of the Thief. Those born under the sign of the Thief are not typically thieves, though they take risks more often and only rarely come to harm. They will run out of luck eventually, however, and rarely live as long as those born under other signs. Don't be dissuaded by the lower life expectancy, as mortals born under the Thief's care are renowned for their agility, their speed, and most importantly, their luck. And that brings us to the Outlier, the constellation that cares not for the cycle of the seasons, instead choosing to rear itself at the most inopportune times. The serpent wanders about in the night sky and has no season, though its motions are predictable to a degree. No characteristics are common to all who are born under the sign of the serpent. Those born under this sign are the most blessed, and the most cursed. It is undeniable that the stars and the constellations have a great deal of magical power, but most mortals, if asked, would not say that they are alive or aware. They are rifts which leak magicka, nothing more, nothing resembling sapience. Yet the quote I cited at the top of the video does seem to contradict this. The warrior constellation turns his gaze and protects the lady. Is this simply a personification fabricated by creative stargazers, or is there some truth to it? Well, we need only look at the Celestials to answer that question. During the Merethic era, the ancient star-worshipping Nedic peoples of the Deathlands created the first Celestials. The kings of Skyreach in the Upper Craglorn region of High Rock constructed a great laboratory with the intention of harnessing the power of the stars. But the endeavour was largely unsuccessful, only creating weak Celestials akin to mundane animals or lesser Daedra. By using a red substance known as Nerncrux, the technology was mastered some centuries later, and it is said that some Needs had been imbued with the substance, allowing them to ascend to the skies, joining the constellations, or perhaps even mantling them. This lore is somewhat unreliable, as this theory led to claims that perhaps the constellations and the stars were mortal creations. The creation story involving Magnus and the Magna Gi forming the stars as rifts to Aetherius is a theory that holds much more weight. Either way, whether the Celestials were truly the constellations or simply needs imbued with Nirncrux, it's not certain, but the Celestials fell from the sky in the 6th century of the Second Era and took on mortal forms, after becoming embroiled in mortal affairs, with the Mage Celestial taking on Molag Bal's forces during the Plane Meld, and the Serpent unsurprisingly causing chaos. The Celestials eventually reassumed their place in the sky. Astronomy in the Elder Scrolls universe is guaranteed to create more questions than it answers, and the nature of the cosmos is truly mesmerising. Thus far we've only mentioned the stars. We haven't ventured beyond to the Earthbones, to the endless expanses of Oblivion, Aetherius, and the sheer nothingness that is the Void. All of that lies in store for future videos. But with that said, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've been Drew, and I'll see you in the next one.